What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at Austin Ekeler. Bit of a conundrum, trying to figure him out for fantasy this year, so we're going to take a look at what we can expect out of Austin Ekeler in 2020. But before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more player outlook videos like this one, and also check out our website for a full list of rankings at fantasyaddictionnetwork.com. But without further ado, let's take a look at what Austin Ekeler did last year. Taking a peek at his 2019 stats, he had 132 carries, which sounds really low when you remember and realize what he did from a fantasy perspective, but most of his game came through what he did in the passing game. So 557 rushing yards, but 92 receptions, 993 receiving yards. Basically doing similar to what Christian McCaffrey was doing, just not on as absurd of a level, but still 92 receptions is insane for a running back. Also had 11 total touchdowns, 8 of those through the air. Finished the season as the third best running back with 309 fantasy points and averaging 19.3 fantasy points per game, which was sixth most. Now, he did have the first 4 weeks to himself, and in those first 4 weeks, he finished as a top 6 running back 3 times. Melvin Gordon came back in week 5. He still had another 3 top 6 finishes. That is really good, especially considering what you paid for him last year, going ADP around the 4th, 5th round. So being able to get a running back that finishes in the top 5, that is league-winning upside. So Austin Ekeler returned a ton of value for people last year, and with the exception of that game against Pittsburgh, never really gave you a poor performance because he was so involved in the passing game in PPR. It always gave you a really good baseline. Only had one game where he scored under 10 points, so had pretty much the perfect season for a running back outside of the top tier elite guys like Christian McCaffrey, but nothing to be disappointed at with what Austin Ekeler did last year. The real question is how much of that success is going to be able to continue now that they're moving on into a new realm of quarterback play with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert coming into the fray. So just to put a little bit of stats to the numbers of how efficient Austin Ekeler was last year, he had a 46% opportunity share, which is actually pretty low for a running back, and he made the most of the opportunities they did get. He finished the year at 108 targets. That is number 2 in the entire NFL for running backs. 6.9 yards per touch, ranked number 1, and 25th in juke rate at 23.2%. Also first in production premium, again, making the most of the touches that he got. He actually faced a pretty bad game script, 21st in the NFL, and he toted a top 5 catch rate at 85.2%. So from an efficiency standpoint, Austin Ekeler showed out to be what a lot of people were touting him before the season, a very efficient running back that needs more touches, and then he goes out and gets paid to continue playing in LA. They let Melvin Gordon walk, and they do add Joshua Kelly in the NFL draft, but we're not expecting him to have the same role that Melvin Gordon did. So Austin Ekeler could have a pretty good season. The main concern right now is last year Philip Rivers targeted his running backs on over 30% of his targets, and a lot of those went to Austin Ekeler. If Tyrod Taylor plays the whole year, he's never even targeted a receiver 100 times, let alone a running back. Both Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert are more prone to run the ball when things get dicey rather than check it down to the running back, which is basically the opposite of what we saw with Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers is a check down savant, someone that can basically see the rush coming and just check it down to Austin Ekeler. So I don't think they're going to completely abandon that because of how efficient Austin Ekeler was last year, but these are not quarterbacks that are designed to do that. This is not what they typically do in their mind. This is not their typical game plan. So Austin Ekeler could struggle to see the same amount of targets that he did last year. We're expecting the efficiency to go down as well. It's really hard to maintain that level of efficiency even at the elite level play that Austin Ekeler was giving you last year. You have to expect some regression in terms of his efficiency. So he might actually see more touches on the ground. I wouldn't be surprised to see him have more than 130 carries. With Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson there, it'll probably be a pretty even split 3 ways between those guys in terms of total carries, and Austin Ekeler will definitely continue to see receiving volume. The real question then just becomes how much does it actually decline? We actually have a pretty steep decline in terms of his overall targets and receptions. We'll bring his rushing yards up to 658, but his total receptions we have dropping down about 30 to 66, giving him still about 600 receiving yards, and expecting that 8 touchdowns through the air to regress a little bit as well. We'll give him a total of 8 touchdowns. That would still put him in the running back 1 range, 241.8 fantasy points, and he definitely gives you plenty of upside if the team does continue to force feed him the ball like Philip Rivers was doing last year. We've already seen what his upside actually is, but with all the offensive philosophy changes, this is going to be a defense as well that should be improved. I don't really know how good this team is going to end up being with how long Tyler Taylor is going to be on the field when Justin Herbert will eventually be. We do expect Justin Herbert to eventually take over at some point in the season. We just don't know exactly when. It'll probably depend based on how well the Chargers are playing and how many games they're winning to begin the season. But not really excited about the prospects of either of these guys in, Tyrod Taylor, again, not known for peppering a single guy with a lot of targets. Tyrod Taylor likes to spread the ball around and also really likes to check it down and run, whereas Justin Herbert is a bit of a wild card, so there's a lot of unknowns on this offense. They did lose Russell Okung, but then they added Brian Bulaga, so you could argue that their offensive line would be a little bit better. If not, it would be at least the same. So a lot of what we're expecting from Austin Ekeler, honestly, if this is a team that is performing well and the defense is keeping them in games, that might bring down the usage of Austin Ekeler, whereas if they're constantly playing from behind and having to go to the air, Austin Ekeler will be a little bit more involved in those types of games. So game script could also play a factor here. There's a huge range of outcomes for Austin Ekeler, and I'm not opposed to taking him in the second round. I just, based on what we know from this team and the red flags and the unknowns from moving away from Philip Rivers and going to Tyrod Taylor and a rookie quarterback in Justin Herbert, those red flags are enough to have Austin Ekeler a bit below some of the other guys being drafted around him. I'm probably not going to end up with him in too many drafts. I would take him near the end of the second round, and I don't feel like he's going to fall there unless people start to completely panic on him. I don't think there's any reason to completely panic. He's not going to completely tank. He's too good to not warrant getting the ball enough, and he should continue to carry pretty high floor. I just think his ceiling is a bit decreased from what we saw last year. But that is our take. Let me know if you guys disagree or agree in the comment section below, and let me know if there's any other guys you want us to hit up. We'll be going through all 32 teams here over the next month, so make sure you check out more of our videos by hitting that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you guys in the next video.